So I like to think of dreams as kind of my best friend, a confidant, a life coach, someone who gives me advice and guidance every single day. And dreams help you work through everything, your problems, your fears, your insecurities, but they also pave the way for whatever your destiny is in life. So they have sort of a dual purpose. So dream work is very humbling. You know, I've spent my entire life, about 40 years now, journaling my dreams. And every once in a while, I still come up with a dream that completely baffles me. And I think most people that have worked with dreams their whole life will tell you this. But the flip side is that it's not difficult to understand your dreams. They're not really that cryptic or mysterious, because they always relate to the life of the dreamer, and they're always a mirror image of what we're experiencing in life and our emotions. So whatever your emotions are right now are going to be mirrored in your dream. I also, if we get to the question part at the end and you tell me a dream and you say, what does this mean? I probably can't tell you, because in order to decode or understand your dream, I need to know about your life intimately. I need to know your history, your fears, your challenges, what kind of work you do. I need to know about your friends and families. So my goal really is not to tell people what their dreams mean. It's to help people understand their own dreams, because it's not difficult. So because of this, it's a really good idea to talk. If you have a dream and you don't really know what it's about, or you can't figure out what it's trying to tell you, if you tell your dream to someone who knows you, who knows your past, who knows your history, usually they can figure it out. So the purpose of dreaming is to help us reach our full potential in life and to create balance, peace, harmony. It's really to help you become the best human being you can possibly be and evolve to the highest state of awareness. In Eastern religions, they call this enlightenment or dharma. Carl Jung, who was one of the foremost teachers of dream work, called this individuation. And Maslow, and in Hinduism, they call it self-realization or self-actualization. So dreams will help you reach the highest state possible. So I believe there's two main reasons why we dream. The first reason is to help us let go of our karma, our issues, or our sins. In the Bible, it says, whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he reap. And the modern interpretation of that is, do not deceive yourselves. No one makes a fool of God. In science, this is the law of cause and effect. So if you steal something, karma is going to come back to you. So this is the first real big function of dreams. It helps us work through our karma and all of our issues so that we don't have issues anymore. The other main function is to help you enact your destiny or your dharma, or why you're here, what your skill set is, your gifts, and what you are meant to give back to the world. When you have achieved that and discovered that, and when you're living that, there's a grace and there's a flow to your life. There aren't constant roadblocks. So Cayce provided insight into numerous dreams, and he said that our dreams accomplish two things. They solve the problem of the dreamer's waking life, their karma, and quicken in the dreamer new potentials. Over and over, he pointed out dreams signal when it's time to tackle new responsibilities, develop new values, or to stretch thinking. He said such dreams are not simply solving practical problems, they are helping the dreamer to grow. So what exactly is a dream? I believe it is our soul journeying into other dimensions of time and space. And this is why we have deja vu experiences. So in our physical body, we have lots of limitations. in the dream state, we have not the same amount of limitations. We can go forward in time, we can observe things, we can rehearse things. And so if you have a deja vu experience, what's happened is you've had a dream, you've maybe gone forward for a couple of weeks and observed something, and then you go back into your body, you wake up, you forget what you dreamt, and then a couple of weeks pass and that experience happens, and you have this funny feeling, oh, I've said this before, or I've done this before. And it's because you have in the dream state. So we all go forward in time in the dream state. We more frequently go forward in time. We don't go backward in time as much, because you can't really change the past, but you can change the present by what you know. You can change the future by what you know right now in the present and what you do with your present awareness and experiences. So why do we dream in symbols? Why do dreams seem so cryptic? It's because symbols evoke intense emotions. And those emotions are key to understanding the meaning of the dream. So the meaning is all about the emotions you experienced. Symbols are the universal language of God and the soul. Well, writing is the language of the mind. Symbols are the language of the soul and spirit. And the wonderful thing about dreams, it's like a very rich novel. There are many layers of meaning. And if you understand a dream initially, you may discover over time, if you go back to that dream, that there were layers upon layers of meaning. So when we dream, why doesn't this screen just pop up and give us the message that we need? You know, when I first started doing dream work like 40 years ago, it was a real struggle, and I felt like I was learning a new language. And I kept on thinking, you know, why does it have to be so difficult? So, you know, why don't we see a screen that says you have out of control ego issues, or you need to deal with your fears around money, or you become a doormat, you have to be more assertive, or this marriage you're contemplating really isn't going to work, or you're stuck in the wrong job, or you need to meditate and relax. So God and spirit always have a gentle approach. Spirit is never blunt or abrasive. You are never ever told in a dream, you have to do this and you must do this. That's just not the way spirit works. You're given information, you're given suggestions, and it's up to you whether you act on it or not. The other thing about symbols is they evoke emotions that work more deeply than language. And so it's like nightly drama therapy. So in the dream state, I said in my book that we're all psychics, like we're all natural psychics, and we don't really understand it or we don't realize it, but we're all psychics every night when we dream. So what is a psychic? It's from the Greek word for the soul. And a psychic is someone who goes into other dimensions of time and space to retrieve information and bring it back to Earth. And that is exactly what we do every night when we dream. So we're all psychics. A medium is someone who goes into the astral world to speak with departed loved ones and relay the information back to us. And we also do that in dreams. So does anybody, you can unmute for a minute. Does anybody want to guess what, you know, I've been doing dream talks now for over 30 years. What do you think the most frequent question is that I get asked about dreams?
This is Larry. One thing about repetitive dreams. Why do you have repetitive dreams?
Okay, I'm gonna cover that, Larry, but that's not it.
That's not.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to hear it. You.
Can you say that again? I didn't hear you.
I didn't hear. I didn't hear. Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you. People are always asking, I had a dream last night where I talked to my deceased loved one. It was so real. Can this really happen, or is it just my imagination? And they usually repeat several times. It was so real. It was so real. That's the most frequent ask, because it is very, very common. Oh, can everybody unmute? It is very common to encounter departed loved ones when we dream. It seems incredibly real because it is. Our life on earth is just a temporary existence we wake up from when we become awake or enlightened. We've got it sort of backwards. The real world is the other dimensions, the astral levels and the heavens. So we're all kind of asleep and dreaming here until we awaken or wake up. So everything on earth is only temporary until we wake into a truer reality. Earth, I think you're all aware of this, is a school where we learn our lessons and study so we can go back to our real home, the world of spirit. So we're all essentially aliens on earth. We don't belong here. And when we dream every night, that's when we go home. So when we dream, we are learning, studying, and taking part in therapy in other dimensions. We visit 2 dimensions primarily until we're fully enlightened. And the more enlightened you become, the more dimensions are available to you. It's kind of like those video games, you know, where you do things and then you can move to the next level. Dreams are very similar to that. So most of us dream in dimensions of time, where we go forward and plan, and dimensions of space, which are usually the lower astral dimensions, which are very, very similar to Earth. Now, another question that's always intrigued me is, how is it possible that we see so vividly in dreams if we don't use our physical eyes? So how are we seeing if our eyes are shut and our body has shut down? We're using our third eye, or there's many names for this: spiritual eye, single eye, astral senses. In heaven, or the astral worlds, we utilize our astral or sixth senses so that everything appears brighter, clearer, more vivid. And in some dreams, it's so vivid, it's as if your senses are on hyperdrive. So this is you've probably all seen this symbolic representation of third eye. And you all, I'm sure, know it's right in the middle between your eyebrows and just up slightly. And it corresponds to your pineal gland. And this is the eye of Horus, the symbol that's been around for centuries. But if you superimpose it onto the human brain, it's quite fascinating because the pineal gland is right there. So one of the greatest functions of dreams is to help us work through our fears, and we all have fears. And what is the greatest fear that many people have? Dying. Dreaming and keeping a journal of our dreams is one of the best ways to prepare to cross over. Because when we dream, we're really going to the same place that we go when we die. So the more you can dream, the more you can journal your dreams and remember them. It's like the best preparation you could ever do. If there's no dream recall, you're really inhibiting your growth. When we dream, we process emotions, release irrational fears, dissolve our egos, become less selfish. We realize what our life's work is supposed to do. So the more we grow through dream work and meditation, the higher we ascend when we cross the veil into the many dimensions of heaven. And dream work and meditation are meant to go hand in hand. So, you know, ideally you have a dream and then you meditate on it and the meaning will become clear. And it always does over time if you're sincere. So the astral heavens where we go when we dream are, there's so many levels that we probably can't really comprehend it. So just to try to begin comprehending how many levels there are, imagine Earth as one multi-dimensional universe, and each country is a separate dimension, and each city or town is again another dimension, and they're all vibrating at their own distinct frequencies with their own language, customs, and politics. So if you tried to visit every single place on Earth, every town, village, hamlet, you probably couldn't do it in a lifetime. But the dimensions or places on Earth are very small compared to the astral dimensions. The Bible refers to 7 levels of heaven, but within each dimension are multiple layers creating a multiverse. So in the Bible, we're all familiar with this phrase. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you, I go to prepare a place for you. The higher our vibrational frequency when we cross, the higher we ascend to in dimensions of higher vibration where there is greater light, joy, beauty, and harmony. In the highest vibrations, colors are more vivid and our senses are intensified. We also have greater freedom to travel to other dimensions. The higher our vibration, the closer we are to God. Freud called dreams the royal road to the unconscious, but they're really the royal road to heaven, paved with promise and endless opportunities. So often, yeah, I don't know if any of you have experienced this, where you have a dream and you've been maybe chased, hurt, harmed, or frightened. And we wake up and we're thankful and we kind of say to ourselves, oh, thank goodness, that was only a dream. But was it? Why are you okay if you broke your leg in a dream? You wake up okay because it was your soul body that experienced the injury. And your soul is timeless and indestructible. The soul can't be killed, shot, poisoned, electrocuted, hurt, or harmed in any way. Your soul is indestructible. What we bring back are not physical injuries, rather the emotional experiences we need to work through and process after the dream. So sometimes the emotional experience can be extremely painful. So we can simplify our dreams by visualizing 3 levels. The first is symbolic dreams, or any dream taking part in the lower astral realms. The second is dreams where we travel to astral dimensions to speak with and interact with deceased loved ones, and there's no interpretation required here. And the third are dreams where we are gifted with glimpses of the higher realms of heaven with intense beauty, light, and color. And maybe when we have the question and answer period, if anyone has had a dream like this, you could share it. They're very distinct because everything is vivid. I had one where, you know, I really like flowers. I'm an avid gardener. And so I saw this field of flowers but the flowers were like nothing on earth. They were like, it was like a giant sunflower and a zinnia combined, and you could see the energy vibrating off of the flower. And it's really wonderful if you have a dream where you get a glimpse of these higher vibrations. So understanding symbolism is really wonderful because, you know, you're not just understanding the symbols in your dreams. It helps you appreciate art, music, poetry, literature, world religions, and different cultures. And Yogananda, who was an Indian saint and mystic, he wrote that all symbols represent our perceptions of God, and the entire universe consists of symbols. The cosmos, with its solar systems, blue skies, and stars, represents the vast, infinite body of God. Every symbol in nature is part of the energy or body of God. The straight line and the circle are both symbols of the infinite. The symbols of the earth and the planets are round. Flowers are symbols of the beauty and the fragrance of God trying to express itself. And the tree was the first symbol of life, or the tree of life. So as I said before, understanding dreams is not difficult. It's a combination of logic and intuition, or left and right brain. Decoding your dreams is extremely rewarding and can be one of life's natural highs. There is no logical explanation for all of the symbols and metaphors used in your dreams, and it always relates to the issues, challenges, fears, and concerns in your present. Oh, there is a logical explanation, I should have said, and it always relates directly to your life. So when I first started, I mentioned before that, when I first started journaling my dreams and trying to understand them, I felt like, it was just so difficult and I couldn't do it. But then it didn't really take long. And when I did understand a dream, you get a high. Like I would get a real high, like a tingle or a rush through my body, because it was just so exciting for me. Now, in the world of symbols, there's two broad categories. There are personal dreams, and then there are universal dream symbols. So personal dream symbols are symbols that are unique for you, and they depend on your experiences in life. So what I'd like everyone to do for a few minutes is just copy down these things: the color black, dogs, camping, ironing, and Christmas. And I'd like you to just jot down the first thing that comes to your mind after each of those words. So
can you repeat that, please?
Yeah, I'm sorry. If you're on the phone, the categories are black, the color black, dogs, camping, ironing, and Christmas. So color black, dogs, camping, ironing, and Christmas. Okay, so anyone who would like to just share, tell me what you wrote about the color black. If you can unmute and maybe somebody tell me what you wrote about the color black.
Just nighttime.
Okay, anyone else?
Mysterious.
Okay.
Darkness and foreboding.
Okay.
Negativity.
Okay.
Empty.
Okay.
And
So-
I put peace.
Peace. Thank
Yeah.
you. Okay.
No
Anyone-
noise. Nighttime, bedtime.
Time.
My son.
Okay. So notice how everybody said something different, like completely different. Okay, let's go to dogs. So what did you write about dogs?
Unconditional love.
Yep, love. Yep.
Neighbors, because the dogs were barking all day long.
Thank you. So see how we're getting,
Ditto.
some people love dogs, but if you were bit by a dog when you were a kid, or your neighbor's dogs are barking, it's not a positive thing. Okay, let's go to camping.
Peaceful.
Explore, nature.
Okay.
Summer.
Bummer. Okay.
No, summertime.
Oh, summer. I thought you said bummer. Okay, thanks, Donna.
No, it can be a lot of work too.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Doing without, except for the essentials.
Okay. Okay, let's move on
Fear.
to.
I'm
Sorry?
sorry. Fear.
Fear.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, that's another good representation of opposites, you know, like some people find camping peaceful and relaxing and other people find it fearful. So thank you. Okay, let's move on to ironing.
Close.
Sorry,
Close.
My
my
mother,
my grandmother.
Oh,
My mother.
chores,
reasoning.
Okay. Okay, so again, we've got lots of different things. And the last thing is Christmas. What did you say about Christmas?
Carols. Songs.
family,
Memories.
Lonely.
Joy,
Okay, so thank you for sharing. So what for one person it was lonely, you know, so your feelings around Christmas really depend on your experiences around Christmas. If it was always a happy time for you, if you dream about Christmas, that's what it means. But if you had someone who died around Christmas, that's going to be your association. So the meaning will be very, very different. So thank you so much, everyone, for sharing, because that was a really good representation of how the same thing can have very different meanings and usually opposite meanings. Okay, so ironing can be stressful and overwhelming, and some people love ironing. They find it's very relaxing. Christmas can be lonely, depressing, stressful, or it can be a time of peace and joy. Now, so we've kind of looked at how a symbol can mean totally different things for different people, but then there are universal symbols that usually mean the same thing for everybody. So we're going to do the same exercise, and what we'll probably see here doesn't always work out completely well, but we'll probably see that most people think or have the same association around these symbols. So I'm going to repeat them twice so you can, in case you have a telephone and you need to write it down. So the first thing is angels, flashing red lights, red roses, diamond ring, and a rainbow. Okay, so once more, angels, flashing red lights, red roses, diamond ring, and rainbow. Okay, I'm just going to give you a few minutes to jot the first thing that comes to your mind. Okay, let's start with angels. Can anyone just shout out what you put beside angels?
Heaven.
guardians,
Okay,
Oh,
Guardian.
Peace.
messenger,
okay, great, thank you. So lots of just sort of positive. I don't think anybody, very many people have negative connotations around angels. Okay, what did you say for flashing red lights?
police.
Okay,
alert,
Prepare to stop.
warning,
okay, thank you. So yeah, very similar. How about red roses?
Love.
love,
Yeah, thank you. Most people say love. Okay, what about diamond ring?
Engagement.
marriage,
Yeah, thank you. And rainbow.
Nice day.
Happiness.
Maybe take one more.
Beauty.
Niagara Falls.
Okay, great. Thank you. So I think you can all see the difference. You know, their personal symbols are based on what your experiences have been with that symbol. But then there are universal symbols that mean the same thing to most people. So now we're going to delve into some of those universal symbols that are most common in dreams. So dream symbols may be intensely personal and associated with the experiences we've had since childhood and the emotions we associate with that symbol. So you always need to ask yourself, what does this symbol or person mean or represent to me? For many years, I went to a Jungian dream therapist, and I would tell her a dream, and she'd always say the same thing. What does that mean to you? What does that represent to you? Or symbols can be universal, usually meaning the same thing for everyone. So let's start looking at some of the common ones. So we're going to begin with the symbolism of animals. Since animals provide a link between everything in the cosmos, it's interesting that as humans, we share 96% of our DNA with chimpanzees. On an energetic level, we're not that different at all. It's believed that God created animals first, then used aspects of their energetic blueprints for his final creation, human beings. This may explain why they are people who are restless like monkeys or stallions, brave like lions, cruel like tigers, meek like lambs, musical like birds, or finicky like a cat. All of these personality traits may play out when we dream of animals. The word animal comes from the Latin animus, meaning soul or breath in life. And animal energies in dreams can have amazing healing powers. When you dream of an animal, what you need to do is consider the unique quality that that animal has. And you also pay attention to what the animal's doing and how the animal is behaving. So our dreams can be like mirrors showing us we've been acting like this animal. Perhaps we've been roaring like a lion or hiding in our shell like a turtle. Animal dreams can also show us the qualities we may need to integrate into our lives. For example, if we often dream of a tiger, perhaps we need to integrate the strength and fearlessness of a tiger, or we may need to be more assertive. Some animals symbolize transformation in our life. So if you dream of a butterfly that hides in its cocoon until it emerges as a beautiful butterfly, or the tadpole that becomes a frog, or the water bug that becomes a dragonfly, anytime you dream of any of those symbols, it's a sign or an indicator that you are going through some sort of personal transformation. So see this little dog here. This was actually my father's dog, and his name was Coco, and I just adored this dog. He was a long-haired Dachshund, and I was going to actually take the dog, only I couldn't because the place where I was living, they wouldn't allow you to have animals. So the dog was given away to a family, and I was really heartbroken because I loved Coco. So a couple of years after he was given away, I was with my father and we were driving someplace together, and he told me something. But before this, I had a dream, and in the dream, the dream was hilarious. I'm at a party and there's a knock at the door, and I go to the door and I open up the door, and little Coco, you know how little Dachshunds are, little Coco standing there. And the really cool thing about dreams is that we can talk to animals and have conversations with them. And I say, oh, Coco, I really wanted to take you. I really wanted you to be my dog. And, I'm so sorry that it couldn't work out. And he said, I know, I knew exactly how you feel. And don't worry about it. And then he turned and he walked away. And that was the whole dream. And I really didn't know why I had that dream at that particular point of time. But a few weeks later, I'm with my father, and he said, "Oh, Marina, I wanted to tell you, the family that took Coco got in touch with me, and Coco passed away about 3 weeks ago." And it was exactly the day that I had the dream. So it was pretty amazing. This little dog had the capacity to come into my dream and tell me that that things were okay. So this is a dream of a great. This is an example of how an animal symbol can work in your dream. This is a dream of a grade 11 student that I had when I was doing dream work with my high school students. So this is what she wrote. "This was a very peculiar dream that took place in the forest located in my backyard. In the forest, the most important detail that I focused on was the little river or creek that runs through it. At first, the forest looked peaceful and gentle, and then the little creek was running smoothly. However, the forest started to change and soon became very lifeless. The little creek turned murky and the water ran rougher. In one section of the creek, there was a little frog lying just beneath the surface of the water. As the water flowed, it just remained in its place. Then certain objects like twigs and branches started accumulating around the frog, and they kept adding up. The most bizarre part of the dream occurred when the arms and legs of the frog started stretching out. They kept extending out as the water became more rapid. Eventually, the bits and pieces of branches that had gathered around the frog were taken away with the water. The creek became calm once again, and the limbs of the frog returned back to normal. Now, I told my students to always record the emotions for every dream. So she said, at the beginning of the dream, I felt relaxed. But as the forest and creek started turning murky, I felt upset. I felt sorry for the little frog just lying there. And when the twigs started accumulating around it, I felt angry. A feeling of frustration came over me when the limbs of the frog were being stretched. After things returned back to normal and I awoke, I was filled with a feeling of relief. So does anybody want to take a guess about what this dream could mean? And just as a hint, there are both literal and symbolic elements in this dream. And another hint is that whenever you dream of an animal, it usually always represents you. So anybody want to hazard a guess about this dream?
Well, just a couple of things struck me was that being stretched, that, you know, you are being stretched. This is a student, so probably too much workload. But also when water is involved, I feel that's like spiritual, as a spiritual realm to it. So I'd like to hear your comment on that. But anyway, those were the things that that I made note of.
Oh,
I was thinking of the murkiness of the water developing is facing adulthood and the more mysterious world of getting older. It's not as cushy as it is for a child. You are in the scary position of being more having to think on your own, and the stretching of the legs of the frog tied in with, to me, with the growing up aspect of the child becoming an adult.
excellent. So I think both of you, you know, that's such a wonderful representation, because you're both right, but it's such a wonderful representation of how there's different layers to a dream. Anyone else want to talk about what their first insights were?
I was interested because of the twigs and the branches building up. I
Mm.
saw that as a protection from against the water around the frog. And it was only then that the frog was able to stretch its arms out, so that maybe the water was more restricting the frog than anything else.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so I'm going to show you what this student actually felt her dream meant. She said, at first I considered this dream very bizarre and thought it had no relevance in my life. However, it turned out to be the most symbolic dream. The forest and creek symbolizes my life. At first, it was very calm and peaceful, but then it became very hectic, just as the water became more rapid. At this point in my life, I am under a lot of pressure, especially with school. With the year ending soon, I have been bombarded with work such as essays, projects, and assignments. Also, exams are coming up, and I am under extreme pressure because of that too. In this dream, I think the frog symbolizes me. The twigs and branches that accumulate around it probably reflect the work and assignments I am trying to finish. As the water gets rougher and the frog still struggles and remains in its place, which is what I am doing. The fact that the frog did not get washed away shows how I am not giving up and I'm still holding on. The peculiar part of the dream, which includes the limbs of the frog being stretched, could symbolize how I am being stretched or pulled into many different directions. The mood in my dream parallels that in my life, because I have been very angry and frustrated with all the work that has been building up. The fact that the frog and creek returns back to normal could foreshadow that soon my life will turn back to how it was, and this probably will happen after exams. So this was just a 16-year-old high school student, but it used to just always blow me away how honest and how accurate these students were with decoding their dreams, which just really goes to show it's something everybody can do. Okay, here's another dream, another grade 11, 16-year-old student. And this is a very, very upsetting dream. And he called this dream Devil Bear. So this was his dream. I am being dragged along the ground by my feet by what seems to be people, but I am not sure. They bring me into a village and dump me in the middle of a circle in front of a big grizzly bear standing behind a table. The bear is huge. He is standing on his hind legs, but there is a hole in his chest and, and around it is blood-stained. The bear starts to talk. He says, "We must sacrifice." He says it over and over. I get up and he takes me to his tent where he lives. He starts to tell me of the end of the world. The darkness is coming, he says. The world will be overcome with darkness and fire and ice, no sky, no birds, no life as I can see now, just darkness, fire, and ice. I happen to look up and right into his eyes. His eyes are pure black holes. I am dragged into a deep sleep and I see the bear rip open a hole in his chest and take out his heart and wash it in water. The heart disappears right out of my hand. I finally awake and the bear and I are back in the circle. A man comes up. He looks like a North American Indian and gives me a knife and the bear a bigger knife. There are Indians all around the circle and they are chanting something, but I can't hear what it is. The bear and I begin to fight. I stab him in the chest. He looks at me and laughs. I stab him again and again. Nothing happens to the bear. He does not even bleed. With a great roar, the bear picks me up above him by my throat and sticks me with the big knife. He rips out the great knife and drops my lifeless body to the ground. So not a very comforting dream. Okay, so this is what this 16-year-old decided. This dream was a hard dream to work with, but I think that I have gotten what it was saying. The beginning, when I am being dragged into the village, represents how I was feeling this particular week. It was a hard week for me. I was just not up to doing anything. The circle that I am put in represents three things: my house, school, and homework. They were the three things I was stuck doing that week. The bear was a hard thing to figure out, but I'm pretty sure it stands for the bad side of me, my shadow. The bear mentions darkness, fire, and ice. The darkness represents the downside to the bad week I was having. The fire represents the anger I was feeling. And the ice is how I might have come across to some people that week. The sacrifice that the bear mentions are the sacrifices I had to make personally, like staying home to get things done instead of going out with friends. So it's interesting that the first dream about the frog, this was one of those students who was just, like every teacher's dream. She's very conscientious. She's a hard worker, always does her homework. And this second dream that was more intense, this particular student was the polar opposite. He usually didn't complete his homework. He just did things haphazard. He wasn't really giving school his all. So, when you need a really blunt, important message, not blunt, but strong emotional message, if you're not doing what you're supposed to do in life, your dreams will certainly reflect that. Okay, so birth. So the interesting thing about having a dream where you're giving birth is that both men and women can have this dream. I have a brother-in-law who dreamt that he had a baby. That was the whole dream. He walked into the bedroom to his wife and he had a baby. So we have this type of dream when we start anything new. So it can be a new job, relationship, getting married, starting anything new, or it can be new endings, retiring from a job, ending a relationship. So my brother-in-law's dream happened when he retired from his longtime work in the federal government. So birth dreams are giving birth to something new. Bugs. So a bug dream usually indicates that it can be literal or symbolic. It usually indicates that something is bugging you or annoying you. The location of the bug tells us where the problem is. Is the bug in your home, place of work, friend's house, or on your body? If the bugs are biting, this could mean the problem is literally getting under your skin. And bugs on your body could also be a warning that you've caught some bug. Maybe you're getting a cold or a flu, and this is the literal meaning. If the bugs are slowly creeping up, this could indicate an approaching problem. But bugs can also be very positive creatures who assist us. The ladybug was named after the Virgin Mary for its assistance in getting rid of garden pests. And in many fairy tales, bugs are helpers. In Pinocchio, the cricket is the moral voice of conscience. So do you see how, every symbol can have opposite meanings? There's never just one interpretation for any symbol. Buildings. Buildings in our dreams are the sets or backgrounds in our dream movies. They reflect the mood, feeling, tone, and atmosphere of our life. They symbolize what we've constructed along with the perceptions and emotions we have about these places. So if you're leaving a building, this could mean you're leaving something behind. Exploring new buildings can symbolize exploring or investigating new ideas or options. Decrepit, decaying, or old-fashioned buildings can mean old ideas or things that no longer serve you. And new buildings or places under construction may symbolize a new venture, rebuilding something in your life, or developing new attitudes and ideas. Cars are fascinating. So cars represent our body, our mind, the state of affairs in our life, our internal drive, or the way we're moving through life. So where you are in the car is important. If we're driving, this can symbolize that you're in control. If you're in the back seat, someone else may be driving or controlling your life. So when I was doing dream work with teenagers, they would frequently dream that they were in the back seat. And you could even have a dream where you're running behind a car. The speed and condition of the car and what it is doing are always significant. So if the car is running out of gas or running out of control, this represents a life literally out of control. If you're driving too slowly and others are passing you by, this may represent missed opportunities. If the car is on fire or overheated, you've probably been hot-headed or had some fiery or hot emotions. If the car has a flat tire, you probably were feeling deflated in life. If you were driving a children's car, this may represent that you've been acting very childish or you had juvenile ideas. If your car is full of garbage, then your life is cluttered. If the windows are dirty, then you are unable to see things clearly. If there's lots of obstacles on the road, then there are probably obstacles in your life. So I had a friend and we used to talk about our dreams all the time together. And he told me that he had this reoccurring dream where he was driving a car and he was going really fast and he couldn't put on the brakes. This was a reflection of his life because he was very busy. He had 3 young children and he was a doctor and he had a very busy practice. So it became a mirror of a reflection of what his life was, but it was also a warning to him. And dreams frequently give us warnings. So what happened to this man was he was driving his car, he was tired, he lost control, he fell asleep driving, and he was in a fatal automobile accident. So dreams are very, very, very telling. Clothes. So clothes represent our personality, the games we play, our attitudes, and the ideas we put on for others. So you all know the fairy tale, The Emperor's New Clothes. So this demonstrates that sometimes we're totally unaware of our public presentation and our clothes or beliefs may be inappropriate. In life, clothes can hide or conceal, but in dreams, clothes show us the real naked truth. So changing clothes or shopping for clothes is about trying out new ideas or new concepts. Children's clothes may be showing you your ideas are outdated, and our emotions around the clothes are always significant. If our clothes seem inappropriate and we feel embarrassed and insecure, this is usually mirroring how we feel in life. If we're lavishly dressed, we may be trying to impress others, or it could just mean that we feel very cool and confident in our life, in our skin. Clothes that are dirty, ragged, and unkept are showing issues about ourselves that we're neglecting. If our clothes are too large, we may need time to grow into something, like that phrase, "You're too big for your britches." Taking off or discarding clothes is symbolic of getting rid of old ideas or old beliefs that don't serve you any longer. And washing clothes can symbolize cleaning up your act, or it can be an emotional cleansing. So death dreams are usually symbolic, and they're rarely literal, and they represent new beginnings, just like birth dreams. When I taught secondary school, my students were always having dreams where they were dying because there were so many new things going on in their lives. Dreams of death can also symbolize a new level of understanding or awareness. Sometimes we actually dream of a friend or relative's death before it actually happens, because we can go forward in time. And this is helping us to prepare emotionally so that we won't be overwhelmed and traumatized when it actually happens. And you can have a dream where you go forward and see something like this days, months, or even years in advance. If you have a dream where someone you know is dying, this could also symbolically mean that their influence or their effect on you is dying out. When people do dream of their own deaths, it's always, always peaceful. And it's things like walking through a door, sailing towards a sunset, flying away in a plane. Exams. So this is a very common dream theme because everybody has had to write exams in school, and there's all kinds of scenarios: failing, showing up late, realizing that you forgot to study. So exam dreams are always about fear of failure or feelings of inadequacy, feeling like you're not measuring up. Dreams of being on stage and having stage fright or not knowing the lines or being unrehearsed are very similar. In both types of dreams, we're processing our fears or feeling unequipped to meet life's challenges. But this doesn't mean that you won't be successful in life. The dream is merely reflecting or mirroring your fears. Falling. So falling is the second most common dream theme we have. And falling dreams are always about fear of failure or insecurity. They represent some sort of loss of control, a steep plunge into the unknown, feeling emotionally overwhelmed or out of control, feeling you have no real support or that you're falling from grace. So you can have a falling dream if you're afraid of losing your job, losing your friends, losing a house deal, a business deal, losing popularity. So what happens in the fall is important because every fall is different. Sometimes we're rescued and we fall without being hurt. So these dreams are assuring us that things will be okay. Now, what is very different? I'm sure you've all had this experience where you have this sensation, you're just going to sleep and you're just nodding off, or you're sometimes becoming awake, and you have this jerk, this fast exiting, like sort of feeling like you're jerked out of your body. So this is called a hypnagogic jerk, and this is the actual process of your body going out or coming back in. Flying. So because we're actually soul traveling in other dimensions, flying dreams are very, very common. So it's just you going to another dimension, but they can also be symbolic. They can symbolize that you're on an emotional high, soaring high in life, or you may be depressed or emotionally low. So in dreams, you fly to balance or compensate. It may be significant if anything happens when you're flying. Are you meeting obstacles? Are you flying towards storm clouds? Are you flying too high? Are you endangering your life when you fly? Are you flying with friends? Are you flying backwards or going forwards? I had a dream once where I was going through a really rough time in my life, and I had a dream where I was flying backwards. So houses are really fascinating. So similar to cars, houses represent our bodies or where we're at in life. So each room in the house will represent different issues. So attics represent higher awareness or spirituality. Kitchens, basic needs such as eating, drinking, nurturing, and communicating with family members. Kitchens are also about food and nourishing our body. The dining room is where we take in food, new ideas, and it's a social area. Bedrooms represent our need for sleep, rest, privacy, or sometimes even sexual issues. Bathrooms are fascinating because they're usually about releasing or cleansing. A toilet is where we physically release, get rid of emotional waste and emotional and psychic physical toxins. A shower or bathtub is where we symbolically cleanse ourselves of old emotions, beliefs, or relationships. So bathrooms are usually about releasing energy or cleansing emotions. Basements represent the unconscious, and a garage can represent where you store your stuff. Most people have had a dream of losing their teeth, and this represents transitions or changes in life, because when we're a baby and we're becoming when we're becoming older or growing up, we lose our baby teeth. We lose our wisdom teeth when we become an adult. And later when we lose our teeth, when we're a senior, it's a passage or a transition to senior years. So losing teeth symbolizes transition, transformation, death, and rebirth, the passage of time, loss of power, growing up, or growing older. Losing or finding valuables usually means that if you have a dream and you're finding valuables, this could represent that you have great inner value. Now, depending on what happens in the dream, it could mean you're allowing someone to exploit or take advantage of you if you lose your valuables, or fears or insecurities about losing your inner value and sense of self-worth. If you keep on dreaming you're always losing your purse or your wallet, it could mean that you have issues around losing money. Finding valuables in dreams is the soul's way of telling you that you have inner worth, like I said before. Losing or finding keys is another common one. So keys are symbols of freedom and opportunity, home ownership, ability to drive yourself, and trust. And they may represent a solution to a problem, unlocking truth, or opening up to previously locked away possibilities. So about, I guess, 4 years ago, I had a dream, and the whole dream was I saw an image of a key. That was the whole dream. But it was one of those old-fashioned keys. And I woke up and I thought, oh, gee, I wonder why. And it was very vivid. It was a very big key. I had never owned a home before. And about, I guess, a few months later, I made the decision to move back to Smiths Falls. I became a homeowner for the first time, and I had keys to my own home. So that was what that dream was all about. Being lost in a dream is also another common theme. It usually reflects confusion, lack of direction, or some type of conflict. When we have a lost dream, we can ask ourselves, have I lost my way? Have I lost my sense of identity? Am I confused about my career? In spiritual terms, being lost can represent the quest for enlightenment or spiritual meaning, and dreams of being lost may suggest new beginnings as we leave the old and familiar behind. There's a different type of lost dream, and I don't know if you've ever had this. I used to have them all the time. You're in a place and you think you're going to your house or your appointment or where you need to go, but you just can't get there because you just can't seem to find where you need to go. You just keep on walking around the corner and you think it's just around the corner, but then it's all different. If you have a dream like this, it's usually because you're in an astral plane or dimension very close to the earth. And the astral dimensions are overlaid or stacked like a string of pearls or a set of lines. The astral is a very similar overlay, but there's just subtle differences. Often you will see things there that you never experience on earth, and that's your clue that this is a different dimension. Marriage dreams can be literal or symbolic. They may literally represent problems or issues in a marriage, or they can represent working through stress or anxiety. They can involve the anticipation of an upcoming marriage, or anyone getting married may literally rehearse the ceremony beforehand many times. Symbolically, marriage dreams represent the blending or merging of masculine and feminine energies, an energetic or more spiritual marriage. So in order to become enlightened or whole, we have to assimilate both the feminine, the yin, or the masculine, the yang qualities. When we dream of if you dream of marrying someone, you can ask yourself, because often you'll have a dream, or I shouldn't say often, sometimes you'll have a dream and it's not someone you would ever really think about marrying or want to marry. So if you have that type of dream, you ask yourself, what is the dominant quality of this person? It may be strength, confidence, a sense of humor, and these are the things that you need to marry or integrate into your personality. So marriage dreams may occur during times of personal transition and transformation. And as I said, they symbolize the merging or union of masculine and feminine before we become whole or holy. So missing trains and planes represent missed opportunities in life, like missing the boat, or you may feel that you're missing the boat. Perhaps you've missed out on a business deal, a job opportunity, a relationship, anything that you really want in life. Okay, bridges, crossroads, mountains. So the emotions we experience in these dreams are always key to understanding their meaning. Do you feel exhausted, as if it's impossible to cross or scale the mountain? Or do you feel energetic or excited? Are there obstacles? Do you get help? Do you fall, get lost, get sidetracked? So bridges take us from one place to the other. So they symbolize crossing over or making a transition in life. Crossroads represent turning points, and mountains represent achieving higher goals. Okay, nude in public. This is a really common dream and a kind of funny one. So if you have a nude dream, the emotions you're experiencing are also key. Do you feel shocked, surprised, embarrassed, joyful, elated? You may dream you're shopping on a Saturday afternoon, take off your coat and discover in horror you're not wearing clothes. Or you may be walking in nature, enjoying the freedom of being naked and loving it. So nudity dreams usually represent feelings of vulnerability, fear of exposure, letting down your defenses and expressing emotions, or a strong desire to break free of anything that is trapping you. You may be naked in dreams because you want to let go of something, people, jobs, or situations that restrict you. If we're extremely embarrassed in the dream, it may suggest feelings of inadequacy or fear of exposure. But if we feel elated and carefree, this can symbolize that you've broken free from something that previously held you back. So my first career was as a photojournalist, and this was a while ago when there were still dark rooms and you had to process your prints. And I love the magic of photography, but I really wanted to do something different. I really felt like I needed a change. And for years, I kept on having a dream where I was naked and not liking being naked. And this was representing that I wanted to break free, from the mold that I put myself in. And when I did make the decision to be a teacher, the naked dreams completely stopped because there wasn't a need for them anymore. So a path symbolizes your path or your journey in life. And it's key to look at the type of path it is. If it's smooth, things in your life are smooth. If there's all kinds of obstacles, there's probably obstacles in your life. So the type of path that you are navigating will represent the type of things that are going on in your life. Okay, Larry asked about, I think it was Larry asked about reoccurring dreams. So these dreams are very, very common, and they're necessary to work through complex issues. And it can take weeks, months, or years to resolve. A reoccurring dream can go on for 5, 10, 15, even 20 years, depending on the complexity of the problem that you're working through. So I'm going to give you an example. I knew a woman. She was madly in love and she lost her fiance in an automobile accident and she was devastated. So for the first 2 years, she dreamt of crossing all kinds of different bridges because the bridge was a transition, a symbolic transition from her life with her boyfriend to her life as a single person. So in the first few months, she was attempting to cross those treacherous, like in the picture, those rope bridges that are over steep canyons. And she was holding on in terror and crawling on her hands and knees. And this was a reflection of how she felt in life, like she was just surviving or just holding on. By the end of the first year, the bridges became shorter and easier to cross. The more emotional progress she made, the shorter and easier to navigate the bridges became. And then in her final dream, after 2 years, she drove across the bridge in this car and there was no problems. And at this point, she had completely resolved the issue of losing her fiance and was ready to move on. So when I stopped teaching, for the first 10 years, I kept on having dreams where I was trying to go back and teach again. I kept on trying and trying and trying, but no one could ever give me my timetable. And this was symbolically representing that I didn't have this structured timetable in my life anymore. I'm going to skip this. Running for your life. So this is the most common dream symbol. And it's similar to falling. It usually represents that there's something you have difficulty facing, that you're running away from something. It represents your feelings of insecurity or loss of control. Usually, if we have that type of dream, there's someone who is after you for something. So if you have a dream where you're running or being chased, you can say to yourself, is there someone after me for something I don't want to do? Is there anything or anyone in life I'm running from? Are there people or situations I've been avoiding? Are circumstances closing in on me? Am I running from feelings or emotions I don't want to face? Am I being victimized? Am I afraid to do something? So these are all examples of why you could have a dream where you are running for your life. And this is the most common one that people have. Sex. I'm almost finished. These dreams can be literal, mirroring sexual issues, or they can be very symbolic. They're similar to marriage dreams, where our soul is showing us the advantages or sometimes the disadvantages of integrating, blending, or merging the qualities of our sexual partner. Now, since dreams act as compensators, if you're not sexually active, you can compensate or experiment in your dreams. So after a long period of celibacy, someone might start having dreams all the time where they're having sex. Since sex is a normal and healthy form of self-expression, if someone represses or denies their sexuality, it may be represented as a frightening shadow figure that haunts the dreamer. If attitudes and emotions around sexuality are negative or repressive, it will always be mirrored back in your dreams. So bombs, explosions, wars, these are always about usually conflict, argument, trauma, post-traumatic stress. They can be literal. You really can go forward in time to witness something, but they're usually symbolic. And similar dreams are a whole range of natural disasters like tornadoes, earthquakes, floods, volcanoes. These dreams occur when there is intense emotional stress or upheaval in your life. So winds represent unbalanced emotions or the winds of change. Fire symbolizes anger or passion. Snow or ice represents when you may be stuck or frozen with fear or treading on thin ice. Toilets are fascinating. They usually represent our emotional state. When we're going to the bathroom in a dream, it often symbolizes emotional release. Blocked toilets usually represent being blocked emotionally. Cleaning a toilet can indicate spiritual cleansing or washing away old attitudes. Now, excrement in dreams doesn't usually mean anything dirty or filthy. It can, depending on the dream. It always depends on your emotions. It may be fertilizer for new growth. It may symbolize financial gain, hence the phrase rolling in it. The key to understanding these dreams is the emotions we're feeling. If we feel awful, humiliated, upset, then we may be going through a shitty time in life. But if the feelings aren't negative, but they're more shock, surprise, or wonder, it may be foretelling something positive, money or new growth. Carl Jung once said, "The hand of God is in the ship." So when I was teaching high school, I had a whole series of these excrement dreams, and they really had me wondering why this was happening. And in one dream, the whole dream was I'm on a street, a donkey is in front of me, and it defecates, and that's it. So the reason I was having all these dreams was because someone had put in, I was doing my doctoral degree at that time, and I won 2 scholarships without really even thinking that this could ever happen. So right after I had all these excrement dreams, I was told I had the scholarship. So it was something very positive. Okay, this is the very last one, water. So depending on the individual, our bodies contain 70 to 98% water. And it's believed that as we enlighten, our body becomes less dense physical mass and more fluid, more water-like, with the ability to transform, blend, and merge with others. So the water in your dream always usually represents your emotions. If you're diving into water, this can symbolize diving into new emotions. If the water is calm and peaceful, this may represent a tranquil time in your life. If you're swimming in rough, turbulent waters, this may be a stormy, unsettling time. So do you reach your destination? Do you sink? You may be in over your head if you sink in a dream. Does someone rescue you? Is the water frozen? If it is, you may be frozen or stuck in life. So water is always about your emotions. Just going to skip this. So these are some great resources on dreams. If you're interested in animals, this was my Bible for many years. Animals Speak by Ted Andrews. If you could only buy one dream dictionary, I would suggest this one, Dream Dictionary by Tony Chris. But usually you can go online and there's wonderful, wonderful information about dreams. So we'll just end with some humor. I'll let you just, I'll just read this because some people have a phone. It's a woman and man in bed. And she's got a remote and she says, if I think you're dreaming about another woman, I just change your dream to another channel. And then she says, I had that dream again where you and the television run off together and get married. Okay. Okay, so if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.